going on. Shout out to every single pair of ears that is listening to me. Shout out to all y'all who ain't got nothing to do on a Friday night but to watch my ass talk this rhetoric, talk this speech. So let us get into it. Before we go any further, gotta say this. Rest in peace to Ray Barrantes. For those who do not know, some of y'all in the Central Valley know, this was the young man, this was the officer who died on the freeway. He was a Chowchilla PD officer. My respects and condolences to him. We did have his candlelight vigil in Gulf. My condolences to him, and I know he had his actual funeral procession a few days ago out there in the central, out there. I want to say in Chowchilla, but much respects and my condolences to his family. Apologize for his passing. Now, how's everybody doing? How's everybody feeling? We have a lot of topics to get to tonight. Let's get right into it. Some of this stuff I've talked about on Instagram and on TikTok, and a lot of y'all got on my ass for my takes. A lot of y'all got on me so much that I felt like it was necessary to rehash the topic. So let's keep it local for a minute, then we're going to go forward. The Glock ban. Let's talk about the Glock ban in California. What is that? What does that entail? So I talked about this earlier. Essentially, what the Glock ban is in California is those of y'all out there who have interest in purchasing a Glock, you can still purchase a Glock in the state of California. You can still purchase a Glock. You can still keep your Glock. No Homeland Security, no the Department of the State, god dang ABC. I don't know what you could assume. No, they are not going to burst into your home, burst into your apartment and take your weapons. That's not going to happen. What will happen is January 6, 2026, you will not be able to buy a Glock outside the state of California, bring it in. There will not be any allowance of any semi-automatic handguns to be able to come into the state of California, period, past January 6th. Sorry, January 1st, 2026. Any semi-automatic handguns that you have in the state that are already legally yours or at a gun dealership prior to that date, they can stay. But anything past that point cannot come into the state. Why is this an issue? You guessed it, the shit with the guns, the button with the switch. Some of y'all know about these ignorant little boys out here in the streets, be it in Southside, Stockton, Fresno, Sacramento, etc., who are taking these guns and putting buttons on there, putting these switches on it, and it turns into a semi-automatic weapon. Shout out to my brother. He said, "Hi, what's going on, my brother? I see you in the comments. Shout out to you. Much love. Thank you for tuning in." And this is becoming an issue. And essentially, the governor of California, Newsom, he has an issue with that. So he took it upon himself to say, hey, what we're going to do is we're just going to ban semi-automatic pistols to begin with. I feel a way about this as a whole, bro, because you got to remember, I do security, and I do security with a semi-automatic pistol. I do it with the Glock. Shout out to all y'all who are tuning in right now. I see you guys in the comments. Shout out to said GC Oi, como é que vai, mano? Saúde. So as your boy, shout out to whatever. Shout out to all y'all. We're talking about the Glock ban in California right now. I appreciate y'all coming in the comments. And at the end of the day, with my job, at the end of the day, I feel a semi-automatic handgun is a safe gun. Semi-automatic handgun is a safe gun for the average citizen in California to possess. And the only, you need something to keep these goddamn guns off, keep these goddamn bears and gangbangers off of you. And I feel it would be a good Glock. I have an issue with Newsom's approach to this because at the end of the day, I look at it as just another way to make it more difficult for the average law-abiding citizen to protect themselves. And I have a big issue with that. I got a big issue with that. You can't, in one breath, make it harder for the average law-abiding citizen in the state of California to protect themselves, but also in the same line won't fund Prop 36. Those of y'all who don't know what Prop 36 is, let me explain. That was to knock out Prop 48. Those of y'all who don't know what Prop 48, let me explain that. Prop 48 was the shit that let it be to where in the state of California, you can steal not up to $950 worth of stuff, and it's just a misdemeanor. What Prop 36 was supposed to do was to negate that and make it to where if you do that 2 or 3 times, it becomes a genuine felony. We can put your ass in jail. Now, why was this an issue in the state of California? Those of y'all who are truly from California, who walk the street of Colingus and Fresno, why was this an issue? Because in California, retail crime in California is insane right now. It is insane. It's gotten to a point where it feels like with Prop 48, it kind of incentivized people to do crime and to take advantage of this law. And that's the issue we have in California is the laws are too lax. Um, but Prop 36 was passed last year, but Newsom is refusing to put the funding behind this proposition to put it in effect. So my issue, going back to what I said earlier, is you can't on one breath tell me that you want to make it harder for the average law-abiding citizen who might have a job at T-Mobile, who might work at Winko's Food, who might just be a single mother who wants something to protect herself because she live in one of the more negative atmosphere size of Oakland and she needs something while she riding the bus or needs something while she walking home at night. You can't tell me that you want to make it harder for that person to get a semi-automatic handgun, but make it easy for the goddamn criminals. See, the thing about guns in general, there's some guns where I will say I might understand why you want to keep this gun out of public consumption or out of the citizens. And granted, I'm libertarian, so I don't like when it starts getting into gun restriction for law-abiding citizens to begin with. I have an issue with that personally. But at the same time, there's certain shit where I understand. Hey, if you want to keep RPGs from public consumption for public holding, even though I want one, I would understand that. Shout out to him and says Sammy Woods. He said, "Can I get a shout out? Much love to you, brother. I see that 612. I don't know if that means you're a gang member, but it's love to you. Much respect to you. My daddy technically is 612. Um, but when you're saying you're making it harder for us to protect ourselves, I don't like that. I don't like that, and it puts us in a very bad state. In California, I love it here. I'm proud to speak for California. I'm proud to be a genuine resident. I'm proud to be born in the capital here. But at the same time, we do have some things we need to change. The thing with Newsom, like I always say, or the thing with Gavin Newsom, like I've always said, bro, like I don't hate Newsom. I don't think Newsom's a bad guy, but I have always had an issue with the way that he gaslights certain issues in California. It always feels like Gavin Newsom is just trying to hit all the woke talking points that are I'm gonna say democratically acceptable and democratically woke to talk about without having any change. I still have an issue with when Prop 36 was still being drawn up, and he was talking about if we do this, it's gonna negatively affect so many black and brown people. Even if that's true, I don't want to hear my goddamn governor talking about a law that's supposed to protect people safe, talking about it's going to affect us. So all of us so all the black and brown, all of us just stealing shit. That's what you're saying? All of us stealing shit like that? That's what we doing? All of us is running to these discounts and stealing shit. I'll do security. I ain't stole shit a day in my goddamn life, minus some suckers when I was 6 years old at the Arco gas station. But no. Newsom kind of gives me the vibe of somebody who, at least for me, I don't feel like has a backbone on certain issues. And he's more than welcome to come here and talk to me. Um, that's just me personally. And I've always had an issue with how the state is kind of being run down. Where Newsom makes mistakes at is he makes the mistake that a lot of Democratic leaders make. They gaslight issues and act like that's not a problem when it really is. It reminds me a little bit of like when the mayor of Oakland, when people were criticizing her, the former mayor of Oakland, mind you, she got recalled and she's currently under federal investigation. But when she kept saying that all of y'all are complaining about the crime in Oakland, all the residents are complaining about the crime in Oakland, but the crime rates are going down. They are going down. And maybe there is some research. Maybe there's a guy named Douglas with some goddamn not guilty goggles sitting in his bedroom doing the statistics because he has a remote job, and it says that hey, homicide numbers in Oakland are genuinely dropping. But I have to acknowledge that if the residents of Oakland are coming to every single town hall meeting, city council meeting, whatever you would call it, and complaining and saying, hey, we don't feel safe. Hey, I don't like it here. Hey, woo doo. Hey, I just got robbed at gunpoint. Hey, we own a donut shop. We got robbed 3 times in 4 weeks. That's a true story. Might have been 2 times in 3 weeks. It might have been 3 times. 3 times in 1 month, that donut store in Oakland got robbed. I have to listen to that and understand, hey, my people feel away. Something's going on. For all of these businesses to leave Oakland, be it all the Walgreens closing, which from my understanding, Walgreens are closing every week, but still, be it the Walgreens leaving, be it In-N-Out leaving, that's big. you know how ghetto your goddamn city have to be for an in and out to leave? For an in and out to leave? Think about what I'm telling you. For a damn in and out to leave? Think about that. They still got in and out in Bakersfield and Stockton, and they still staying steady. Oakland's different because the problem with Oakland has always been with thing with Oakland is Oakland's always been a place where there's still money in Oakland. That's the problem with Oakland. Like people know, like, you know, Oakland's not a place where in the ghettos of Oakland, everybody's poor. Oakland's still Bay Area real estate. So you can go to a lot of areas of Oakland, like West Oakland, for example, that's kind of starting to be almost like the new yuppie gentrified kind of area. And they 100% have people in there who make 200,000 over six figures a year living in those neighborhoods. So they always on the prowl out there. Bringing all this up because I watched the Mayor Sheng Thao of Oakland, gaslight the issues of Oakland and act like nothing was going on. I watched y'all have criticism to the former district attorney, the DA, who's basically in charge of prosecutions in Oakland, say that she was having a soft approach to giving these kids prison sentences. And I just don't think we are in a phase in California where you can have a soft approach to crime. We just don't. But a lot of Democratic leaders, and this is not to call out all Democrats, because as those of y'all who know me know, I'll call out Democrats, Republicans, and Digimon. That was a joke. Those of y'all who are old enough to remember Digimon. I just feel like you can't run your platform and completely gaslight the issues and act like these are not issues in the communities and towns that you're supposed to represent. You can be a Democrat and still be tough on crime. God knows Clinton was. So, just being honest with you, I'm well aware that Newsom is probably going to try to run for president. Ain't like the Democratic got anybody else besides AOC. But I'm completely disgusted with that idea. I don't think that's going to work. I don't think it's going to work with AOC. And honestly, I don't see it working. But one thing about this new rivalry, it's not new, but this little back and forth he's going through with the federal agencies as well as Trump is he's getting the chance to present himself as a hero. He's getting the chance to present himself as like the savior of America who's against tyranny and fascism, et cetera, et cetera. And if the country goes like how Elon Musk says that our country will be in a recession by the end of this year, hey, he could be the guy to say, hey, I was right the whole time. Just say it. To put a button in that topic, what I would say is at the end of the day, man, I pray for this state. I love California. I'm not going to act like this is the worst goddamn state to live in. We've 100% have it better than I would say at least 46 of the other states. But I can still also say we could do better in certain areas, in particular when that comes to taking care of our citizens here, our law-abiding citizens here. That's all I'm saying. I don't feel like that should be a bipartisan take for me to say, hey, our citizens should be allowed to carry weapons to protect themselves. Because essentially what y'all are doing, this is what y'all have to understand, bro. When you make it harder for the average law-abiding citizen to purchase a goddamn firearm, that don't stop nothing that the illegal ones, that don't stop nothing the criminals got going on. That don't stop nothing the criminals got going on. I grew up semi in the hood. Let me tell you, I don't know one group of niggas that do crime that walked into a gun store legally and bought a gun to go do a drive-by. I don't. I don't. I've never seen that shit. Maybe one of y'all can speak to that. I've never seen that shit a damn eye. I've never seen somebody walk into a gun store and literally purchase a gun to go do a drive-by to go shoot some goddamn body. Maybe y'all can speak to that. I've never seen that. So yeah, a button in that topic. Now, next topic, next topic, next topic. Let's get into it. The racist tweet from the Young Republican Federation. Let's talk about it. So, what was this? Some of y'all know this story. Let's talk about it. There is a group of fat, ugly, cave-dwelling people who happen to be Republicans that are members of the Young Republican Federation. They're essentially GOP members. who their group chat in between their little Telegram app, Telegram's kind of like almost like a little group messenger group chat thing, was leaked. And some of the most racist, crazy jokes that they was making about blacks, Latinos, gnomes, whatever it might be, leaked. And quite a few people were pissed. Quite a few people were like, bro, what the hell? What the fuck? Y'all think this is cute? Y'all think this is funny? Like, what, what the fuck is y'all do? What the fuck is y'all doing? Like, that's not cute. Bringing all this up because JD Vance defended it. JD Vance, the same vice president we had, who was about to get everybody fired from their goddamn job for making jokes about Charlie Kirk's death. And mind you, let me add, I 100% frown upon you making jokes about the dead. But the same man who made all them goddamn accusations, the same man who's supporting Trump trying to get Jimmy Kimmel fired, the FCC trying to get Jimmy Kimmel fired, I'm sorry. He's saying that he's basically saying those in that group chat, they were just kids making jokes. He said, hey, kids are going to make jokes. Kids are going to make offensive jokes. It is what the hell it is, right? And it is what it is. A lot of y'all got mad at me because when I talked about it, I said, I'm not going to take offense to a bunch of racist, Republican, fat, ugly fucks making jokes because I don't take them seriously. A lot of y'all responded to me and said, well, newsflash, that's effed up because these are GOP members. These are supposed to be leaders of states, of cities, and you don't take that personally? Hey, excuse me, let me tap the microphone, make this work. You just now learned that Republicans are racist. You just now, I ain't gonna say all Republicans, that's not, I'll say maybe 10%. You just now learned there's Republicans that say crazy shit about black people, that say crazy shit about Mexican people, that say crazy shit about, you just now learned that? You didn't think none of them was in power? You thought all of them was living in trailer parks like a lot of them do? No, newsflash, a lot of them do have some pull out here. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that y'all had to find out like this. I'm sorry that you had to find out that them fat, no neck, ugly, Pillsbury Doughboy shaped fucks. Y'all, I'm gonna put the photos in these videos. If I could show you how ugly these motherfuckers looked that was saying this stuff about us, if I could show you the amount of neck, if I could show you these motherfuckers, you would be shocked. You would be shocked. Got the nerve to be calling us watermelon eaters and I'm like, who the hell is y'all to talk? Who the hell is y'all to talk? I was more disappointed in JD Vance than them because I'm always going to look at it a way when you're talking about somebody who's supposed to be the leader of our country. And just 3.5 weeks ago, he was calling out any and everybody and supporting anybody who's calling out anybody and everybody that might have criticized Charlie Kirk, that might have called out Charlie Kirk, that might even said made jokes and foulness of Charlie Kirk's death. But even after that, you call out everybody who did that. But after that, you won't call out the people who are making jokes about putting people in gas chambers, calling people the F word, saying N word this, N word that. You won't call out that. I have a really big issue with hypocrisy, particularly when it comes to hypocrisy from the people who are supposed to be the leaders and vice leaders of this country. It's got to be honest. My brother here asked, how often do you do these lives on YouTube? I do them once a day. I'm always going to have an issue with that. The division in this country is at a high that I have never seen before. And it's sad. It is sad. It is depressing to see Department of Homeland Security put on their official website completely blame this government shutdown completely on the Democrats. It's completely depressing to see the head of Homeland Security talking about blame the Democrats, call this a Democratic shutdown. Bitch, you're the leader of Homeland Security for America, not for Republican America. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? You that desperate to keep a job? Is that job paying that much? Because them federal jobs usually don't pay that good. You might be making more than she making. I just personally have an issue with that. I do. What I will say in that topic, to put a button in that, I will say that I'm just disappointed with where America's at as a country. I'm not gonna lie to you. I am. I really am. Guess my last topic tonight will be the ICE crackdown. Made a video talking about this. Pissed a few people off talking about this cold calling out ICE. Oh my God. And like I said in the video, y'all, like I told y'all, at the end of the day, man, hey, listen, I don't want criminals in this country. If you come from another country and commit a crime here, you 100% should get the fuck out. What I don't agree with is you kicking out people and removing the protective status of people who fought for this country, who died for this country, like all those former Afghani soldiers and those former Afghani interpreters that work with us, and now they're losing their protective status and might be getting kicked the fuck out, and possibly are getting sent back to a death sentence if we're kicking them back to Afghanistan. I feel like that's fucked up, and that's terrible to do. That's unloyal, and I hate. That's so evil to do. See, that's the thing about when we talk about the whole, ICE deportation things. Y'all just see that and just think of Mexicans. You don't think about all the other classes that get affected by that. Hmongs, Afghanis, former soldiers that fought for it and family members died for us. You don't think about none of that, huh? You just think we only just picking up people who work in the farms and fields and shit. We can have a conversation about them. I feel like if you stayed here, if you've been here for 20, 30 years, didn't pay taxes and done, etc., when you cross the border, and the day that crossing the border is a federal offense. That is a federal offense. And that's everybody knows that. And that is wrong. Now, we have a conversation. When we have a conversation about amnesty, I'm gonna say amnesty, contextual amnesty, getting somebody a pass, right? In between the people, in between the woman who crossed in 1994 with her and her two kids, came here, self-reported at a certain point, has been paying taxes to try to get her citizenship, etc., versus the motherfucker who crossed over here from El Salvador in 2022, is an MS-13 member, then rose up all kinds of hell in his native lands. I feel like there's room for context. In between those, we can see there's a difference between one that should get the F out and one that maybe deserves some kind of contextual amnesty. Maybe just some. Not some. Not some. That's all I'm saying, bro. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. A lot of y'all aren't familiar with the contextualness of some of these situations, so you might just have a bare bones blanket view of how to handle it. But if you know some of the particulars, you look at things different. I look at it, where you deporting people who genuinely fought and died for our country. I look at it, where you deporting people who have contributed to our country for 20 and 30 years on it. I look at it weird. I do. Sure, I do. There's room for all these conversations. Let's end the broadcast right here because, I've been talking a lot. I ain't gonna hold you. But I just want all of y'all to think about these things. When it comes to immigration, like I always tell y'all, I'm always going to feel a way when I see my government trying to present this kind of individual, this kind of person, this kind of class of people as my number one enemy. Why are you so hell-bent on presenting him as my number one enemy? When I saw Trump, as he always does, go so hard at trying to make immigrants, illegal immigrants, the number one enemy, I kept thinking, why are you going so hard at that? Why? Always pay attention when a religious leader or political leader finds a common enemy and tries to make that enemy the person who's everything that's fucked up in your life is because of that common enemy. Always pay attention. Just be skeptical. Think about that. Just be one. Just get skeptical. Like, hey, what are you getting out of me believing this bullshit you're trying to sell me? That's all I'm asking. Thank y'all for listening to me. Thank y'all. I'll be back here tonight at 8 p.m. And shout out to all y'all. Shout out to all. This is the West Coast greatest voice.